So, all right, our bundle is V-block, which we talked about whenever we did it, 2 weeks ago. I've lost track. It's everywhere. I'm hoping you're looking at patterns now and saying, hey, that's that V-block she was talking about. Because that's what Deb Tucker does for you, Studio 180, is you start recognizing units and realizing I can make them easier. So the one we're going to concentrate on today is called Square, the ruler. The tool is called Square Squared. It makes square in a square. And this one is everywhere, okay? And you can do it all the same color. You can do it with 2 different colors. You can make it so that these are star points. So if you set it this way with a yellow square, it would be a star point, and put it all the way around. It's very versatile. It's very pretty. Let me show you one other thing. This block, that's all it is square in a square, the whole thing. You just change up your star points and the whole block, the whole thing. There are entire quilts that are made with just square in a square. And they're very often it's the center of something. You can also stack the squares. So instead of just one time around, you've got another time around and another time around. You see those. If you've ever seen Snail's Trail, that's square in a square. You just are very picky about where you put your colors. Okay? So we want to talk about how to work with square in a square. It may look really easy, and it is with this tool, but that center square is a booger because it's for a 4.5 inch unit, which is 4 finished, standard unit in many quilts. It's a weird measurement for this square in order to make these triangles fit perfectly. It's like 16ths, something like that. I don't know about you. I don't even like measuring eighths. I'll try to get out of it. 16ths are out of the question. So Deb has done all the work for you, and I want to show you. That's the best part about this. I mean, the unit's awesome, but that starting with the right square is everything. Okay, I'm going to come around. Tara's going to do her wonderful camera abilities. I'm going to go over there so it's right side up for you and me, because we all know. While I'm getting set up for that, if you're a Deb Tucker person, you're used to the directions, and as I said, they're all on her website under free downloads because they're free, and they're made this size, 8.5 by 11. Okay, otherwise you use this size. And the writing's a lot smaller. Okay, but I'm getting old, so I need it bigger. So you're also accustomed to having a chart that tells you, what do I start out with, what do I do, so forth. Square in a square, or square squared, the chart is on the ruler. That's where it is. Or along here for your starting squares. If you lose this, and you haven't had time to copy it, you don't really need it to get what you got to do. All right, so while
you're walking around, I'm going to show that against the
mat. Against the mat? Yeah. I should get a white piece of paper.
This is the
So these are the side triangles. Okay, this is how you cut your square. And it tells you if you want a center square for a 3-inch blocks, you're going to follow these lines. I'm going to do a 4-inch block, so I'm going to follow these lines. And it tells you up here what size strip you need. So you have every bit of information on the tool instead of having to chase down the directions. So When I don't do square and a square for a while and I go to do it, I hunt for the directions. Open the directions up and go, oh, you don't need those. All right, so because I am doing a 4-inch finished, I needed a 3.5-inch strip. Okay, so now I'm going to take my 3.5-inch strip and I'm going to lay these lines. I've cleaned up my end. Okay, I'm going to lay these lines right where I have cleaned it so pretty. Okay, now I don't know how well this is going to show. Can you see? This is all there is left over. But as I pointed out and other people pointed out in my classes, that makes all the difference in the world between a nice block and a sloppy looking block. So when I do this, I'm not cutting off a ton, but I'm cutting off just enough that it's correct.
And
okay?
You don't have to cut that 16th of an
No,
inch.
you don't have to measure that, which is horrid. All right, can we see this? Mm-hmm. All right, I've got my femore, okay? And I'm just going to go up and over. That's what I cut off. And again, it makes all the difference in the world. So now I have my square. I am going to reach over, maybe. See, I was organized. What you are going to do is you are going to put, there they are. I'm sorry if I'm messing this all up. You'd think I'd have this down by now. I'm going to put the sides on it. I want my sides. And you decide, do I want, or the pattern decides, do I want the same color all the way around or do I want different colors? I've got examples of both. This one I'm going to put reds on. So what I do is it's going to look like this when I get done, I hope. Okay, only without the gaps. So I am going to do the two opposite sides because I'm always in a hurry. We've discussed this. I'm always in a hurry. What I'm going to do is I am going to center this. Now I'm going to show you my way of centering, which is to eyeball. And you remember, oversized, cut to perfection. You're okay if it's a little oversized, if you're a little off here. If you are very meticulous, you can do the fold in half, crease it with your fingernail so you can see it, or mark it if you want. Irene is way too impatient to do this. Fold this one in half, either crease it or mark it, then match the mark or crease. That would be perfectly centered. And if you'll notice, it doesn't look any different than the way I did it. But if you don't trust yourself or if you're just beginning, so you do that one and you are going to sew your best 1/4 inch. You're going to do it over here too. And you can do both of these at the same time. I mean, not at the exact same time, but you can chain one side, turn it, and chain this side. It's not going to affect over here because you're not getting close to it. So it ends up, this is what I did. That's how I put them together. And I only pinned them because I was bringing them here. I don't pin. I have pins everywhere because I move with these guys. Then what you'll end up with is you're going to, and this one has different colors, so please excuse the different colors. You're going to push them out or read your pattern. Sometimes they open them, okay? And your pattern will tell you. It all depends on how many seams will this piece be joining. Sometimes they open. Then I set up the other two, and I'm going very fast just so that I don't bore you to tears. And then I push those out. And now I've got a cute little square and a square, but look at this mess.
So can I sort of point out something and ask
Sure
a
can.
question? So I am not seasoned at the Tucker way.
Okay.
And one thing I noticed, I'm going to use this as an
Go
example.
ahead.
A lot of times if I'm sewing a triangle onto a square, I will think.
Sew it that way?
I will think, okay, so my 1/4 inch should meet that.
No.
because that's just the habit I've been in, but
Right.
that's not the tucker way. So if you're in that habit, don't just ignore that urge to do that.
Well,
and
the
do your
reason
true quarter.
the reason is for this one you have lots left over, but look at this one.
Yep. So now
that's where it comes quarter to quarter.
Okay.
That's why the first seam you need extra room, because when I push these out, okay, I push them out and press them or open them. When I go to put these on, now
that's where that quarter
it's almost perfect.
Yep.
I mean, it is perfect, but it'll be close to perfect. And even if it's not perfect, we're trimming, which is the next step. Okay? And this is the beauty. This is the beauty. Between cutting the square for me, or measuring the square for me, I cut it, and the trim down. And this is the best part of all Deb Tucker's tools. You are going to, and there's all kinds of directions to follow this. I'm doing a 4-inch square.
I'm going to zoom really close right. So we can see that.
So 4. You can see the 4s. See them? There's one there.
I'm running a table
here. Okay, one there, one here. The 4 X's. Okay, the number 4 X's. Of course, there's 4 of them. It's a square. You're going to line those right up. And of course, Irene didn't double check to make sure this fit perfectly, but it's pretty darn close. What you're doing with those X's is beyond the X is your 1/4 inch seam. So beyond the upper half of this right there to that line, that's your 1/4 inch seam. So what this is going to allow you to do by lining these guys up is when you go to add it to something, you don't cut it off. Your point. You don't cut your point off. So I've got it lined up. Now look, I've got extra. I'm close here, but I got extra. So they're not going to look perfect when you get to this stage because you're going to trim, and it's all good. So I'm going to trim up and over, and hopefully, this is an old blade. I got to purchase a new one today. I have been cutting like crazy. I'm going to rotate the normal Deb Tucker rotation. Now I can follow my 4.5 lines and put where I just cut. And if I did a good job lining up the first time, they line up again. So double check them. Notice this one's a little extra, but I can live with it. And then up and over. And there's our perfect square and a square. Yay! Now this tool, I'm going to go back over to the other side. We have 2 more Thursdays in July, and we're going to show you a couple other things that each tool does. But one thing I want to show you with this one is this makes a really pretty border. If you wanted to spruce up a border, it makes a gorgeous border to put onto anything. So let's say you have a panel and you love that panel, but you need a panel treatment so that you can make a fancier border. This is an easy border to do, and it's not going to distract. Just match your colors and you're good. And I think we have a question.
They want to know how you cut the triangle. Go around.
All right, so what those are, and I don't know if Tara can zoom in, that piece I told you, the finished size square squared, I went for a 4-inch, so I cut my squares at 3 1/4, and then I cut once on the diagonal. And those are my triangles for the side. That's what these guys are.
So I have something that I think you should talk about.
Okay.
This ruler looks a little...
Yep,
a little
on the side.
Funky. I think it's because it has something on the back, does it?
This has my Invisigrip. Okay. I love Invisigrip. Deb Tucker Deb Tucker suggests Invisigrip. I'm going to slide this underneath so you can see it. It's just a film. And what it does is you cut it, and you cut it to size, then you put it on, and it not only gives you grip, okay, It also protects your lines and your numbers. So that if you're like me, and I'm always doing this, that can wear off the writing on the bottom of your rulers. So I put it on every single tool I have. I've even put it on some of my non-OmniGrid tools. Back in the day when I bought things like that. Anywhere you want a little more, or any kind of. Without it, it's a little slick.
But you don't put it on the
6.5 by 12.5?
No, I'm thinking of the brand that has a little grippy.
If you already have, that's OmniGrid.
No.
OmniGrid has.
What it is.
Isn't it OmniGrid? Anyway.
I'll go look at it.
Okay. I have one here somewhere. If it already has grip stuff on it, don't do it. Now, some of you say, but I love those little circles you can put on here, or those little bars, those strips. Creative grids, that's the one. OmniGrid doesn't have it. When you put anything on the bottom of Deb's tools that lift the tool up, you are distorting the size. It's a reflection kind of thing. If you've ever tried to catch a fish by scooping it out of the water, you can't because the water diffracts. I'm thinking of snagging salmon because my ex-husband used to snag salmon all the time. That's not it. We don't have any. I bought the last one.
It's coming.
All right.
It diffracts. Okay, so it won't be as perfect. It's got to lay flat. Okay. Now some of those things you put on aren't huge. The other thing I don't like about the little circles or any of those is you got to be careful not to cover up any lines. Because if you cover up a line with a circle, you're not going to see the line. So this stuff works way, 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 way better. Okay, just because it gives you still see all your lines. There's no distortion, nothing like that. Am I the only person that ever used to try to catch minnows in the creek? I'm really old. But anyway, you can go to scoop and it's wrong because the minnow's way over here. Well, not way over, but anyway, same idea on here. You want, if you can, some people hate it. Some people love it. I happen to love it. So I suggest it as soon as you buy a tool, you put it on there. And it wears out. Okay, eventually it will stop being as grippy as it should be, and you need to replace it. But all you do, it's like window clings. All you do is find the corner and pull it up and replace it. They're like those window clings. I used to love them. So not difficult at all. So that's making square and a square. This is just one time. You can also do what's called stack squares. The next one, the square will actually be normal and the triangles will be here. And then you do another one, and then you do another one. We're going to show you that down the road, maybe, so that you can see how you can add to it. But this is the basics. If you do the bundle, you can get both the V-block and the Square Squared tool for a really good price. I just can't find my paper. Is it written on there? Mm-hmm. Okay.
$49.50, normally $65.99.
So normally $65.99 for this item of the month, pre-sale. It is $49.50. Good deal. Good deal. And I'm not kidding. Both of them, you will start seeing. For our next show, I'm going to bring in a pattern out of a book. And see if you can find the square and a square and the V-block. You'll be shocked how much you can see. Now, obviously, Deb Tucker has many patterns in which you can use this, but that's cheating. I want you to see it in a pattern that's not Deb Tucker and realize that. And it does not take more fabric. You're only cutting off this much, okay? It's not going to, matter of fact, there are times it takes less, many times it takes less fabric to do it with Deb Tucker than it does with regular. So if you have any questions,